Hey people, welcome back. Episode 6 already. It's flying by. In the last episode we had the bike running for a little bit. It wasn't running exactly as I'd be happy with it. One of the problems I think I spotted as well was I think one of the floats in one of the carb bowls is sticking because we was losing petrol out through the bottom overflow of the carb. So in today's episode basically we're going to be stripping down the carbs, giving them a clean. I haven't got a carb refurb kit as such. I'm hoping I can get away with just a strip down and inspection and clean, and then we can put them back on, and I got to have a look then at seeing what I can do for the connecting baffles between the airbox and the carb itself. I've looked on the internet and they're like gold dust. They're impossible to find, so I'll see if I can modify something just to get it working at the moment. So we'll have a look at the board, we'll see where we're up to, and we'll take it from there. Stay tuned. Here we are back on the board. Again, today is episode 6. We've just had the Christmas holidays, if you want to call them that. And we're just about to enter the new year, which is 2019. So happy new year. Let's hope this new one brings as much fun as the last one. So on our price list, so far we're up to £73.50. That's all we've bought today. Is we got a tin of carb cleaner from Halfords for a £5, reduced from I think it was £7.50, something like that, so a bit of a bargain. So the total so far is £78.50 to get to where we are. As you've seen in the last few episodes, we've had the bike running, so we know it's not seized. We've put some cheap oil in just for now. So today we're going to take the carbs out, which shouldn't be hard because there's only 2 back rubbers holding them in. Get them on the bench, give them a clean, give them a strip down, do an inspection, and find out if this float is sticking, because from the overflow pipe, right in the last video, we had petrol running down, so I think this float might be sticking. Some of the screws are a little bit mangled from previous owners, but we'll have to try and get around that. I want to see if I can clean them down without stripping them completely apart, just until we can get the bike up to a point where we're happy with. So I'll put it on the stand and we'll crack on with that. Welcome back. Alright, these should come out fairly easy. We've just got the 2 rubbers holding them on. There's only 1 screw in each bellows, so I may even, because these rubbers are really tight at the moment, so I think I'm going to just take off the 1 bolt, take the rubbers off, put the rubbers back onto the head, and then deal with the carbs that way. It's really fiddly to get your hands in. Just grab a 10mm spanner. I hope you're enjoying these videos anyway. I know I'm enjoying making them, and I hope somehow you're finding them useful. Maybe you've got a project you wanted to start yourself, or maybe you're thinking about doing a project, and if like me, I'm not a mechanic, I've just learned what I've learned through years of owning motorbikes, being tight, not wanting to pay to have them fixed by other people. So I've learned myself. YouTube is a great learning device for that. There's a wealth of information out there. Right, if we get this fuel pipe off. Don't need that at the moment. Disconnect some cables. Sorry if you can't really see what I'm getting at the moment. As I say, it's a little tight for space. It's a choke. And again, like I said, it is 2 throttle cables on here to push and a pull. I'm just using a pull at the moment because there's enough snap back on the throttle itself at the moment that I'm happy with, so just for now, get this throttle cable off. Right, so that's the carbs off. We'll take them over to the bench, get the rubbers off, drain the bowls out and take it from there. I'll try and keep you in shot and in focus, but a little bit hard for me because I can't see what I'm actually filming really. So I'm going to take the rubber boots off in a minute. But first I want to see if I can drain any of the fuel out that's still in the bowl. Your main drain screw is there and there. They're the slot head. So let's see if I can get them to open up. There's one. A little bit of petrol coming out as well. I'll use that to wash down the body as well, just to give it a clean. So we'll last draining. We'll try the second one. This one's mangled, so we got it. And it's this one that I think the float is sticking, so we shall have a look. Can you fit that way and drain? No. Just leave them drain out. Like I say, I don't know if I'm gonna split the two bodies apart. I'd rather not if I can. As I say, I'm not a mechanic. I'm following what I'm reading, what I'm studying through the manual as well. So I'm learning as I'm going as well. So that's just about it for both bowls. Right, I'll take the rubbers off, because again I won't be needing these on for cleaning. They're quite tight as well, quite hard, so the rubber I think is coming to the end of its life, so I got to be careful when I'm prying that I don't split it. If it is going to be too hard, then I'll just leave them on. I'd rather take them off, but if I can't, then they'll stay on. There she goes. There's one. There's a little tear in that rubber there, so I may have to look for a new set. We'll see. Like I said, I'm trying to do this on a budget, so that one don't look too bad. The O-rings are just about shot anyway, so I'll have to see if I can either pick up a pair or see if I got a pair in my goodies box. But there's the main body. They're free, and so are the butterflies. So we'll have a look. Again, if you look at the difference in size of ports, the smaller port will always be fit into the engine. The larger port will always be to the airbox or pod filters, whatever you've got on there. I may eventually change these to pods. That's all I want to do now is take them apart, have a look, give them a clean, put them back together. But what I think I'm going to do first is I'll give the outside a clean first. That way I know I'm not getting any bad muck and debris inside. I'll probably use a little bit of the petrol that came out, and I've got a carb cleaner, so we'll get set up for that. Right, we're ready to start cleaning. I got some WD-40, some carb cleaner. I've got a bag of these cheap nylon and brass soft brushes. You can use toothbrushes as well, they're another good cheap alternative. So I'm just going to spray the outside in the container, give them a clean, and see if we can get him looking a little bit better. We've got a screw missing on the body there. Let's have a look. Another thing I am wearing safety glasses. Just because you don't want any of this cleaning product, petrol, anything like that splashing back in your eyes. That wouldn't be very nice, going to visit A&E because you've been silly and not wore safety glasses. I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, but you can put them in, you know, ultrasonic cleaners, and I do have an ultrasound here, an ultrasonic cleaner, but I don't really want to go to that extreme of depth in cleaning at the moment. I just want to get this running. So this is just so that I know there's no big muck dropping inside when I split it apart. So have a look at the floats on the jets. The bowls and these top casings, they can be polished up or painted, whichever I decide. But now we're just having a clean. What I'll do as well, I'll set my compressor running once I've cleaned off what I'm happy with, and I'll blow this out outside with compressed air, but I won't use the full pressure of the air gun either. I'll use just a little bit of the pressure because I don't want to blast anything that's already in some of the channels further in or clog them, and I'll try and blast from behind the channel back out, if that makes sense. So rather than blowing anything into the carb, I'll try and blow it out. By using a little bit of WD-40 as well, what that's going to help is some of these screws that have been in there for donkey's years, since Jesus was a kid. It's going to help penetrate and loosen up some of the tight screws as well, so that will help me. Like I say, you can take 3 weeks to do this if you want. There's no time scale in which you've got to do it. You can do it till you're happy and as clean as you want it to be. I'm just doing this so that I know there's no big bits of debris going to fall in and contaminate. Because I'm not going for a show bike, a presentation bike, if you want to think of it that way, with the build. I just purely want, see what I mean about the overspray? You really got to watch yourself. Now, one thing I will say as well is I have read a lot on the internet about different cleaning solutions, And there has been a lot of mention of people saying, oh, well, can I use brake cleaner to clean my carb? And the general consensus from what I can gather on the internet and from the forums is yes, but at your own peril, because from what I can gather, brake cleaner can be hazardous to rubber O-rings and rubber gasket seals. So carb cleaner is made specifically for that, for carbs. And there are rubber O-rings in carbs, so that's been taken into consideration when the manufacturers have made the product. Whereas brake cleaner, basically, for brake discs, decontaminating. So, but again, it's your choice. I'm not an authority on any of this. It's just my gleanings from Tinterweb. Again, I'm not going for super pristine. Look at me, look how clean. I'm just going for this safe. Proceed to the next step, which will be opening them up, checking the bowls. I've got a manual for the bike on PDF from the internet. I haven't printed off the carb section yet, which I should have done really, considering I'm cleaning and going to strip the carbs down. But if I get stuck, I can always pop in and check on the computer in the house if I'm not sure of the next stage. But basically it's just going to be a clean, an inspection, see if one of the floats are sticking, and if they are, if there's anything I can do to help free it. And just generally have a look, an inspection of the cars. See if there's any broken bits, any missing bits, any bits that don't look right. And then I can address that issue. Like I say, for a few quid these brushes are ideal. Again, I'm using the petrol that came out of the bowls, so you're saving yourself some money, you're recycling, but also because they're carbs, they're going to be petrol resistant. So should the O-rings be inside, because that's what they're made for, to sit in petrol. But by using petrol to clean them, it shouldn't damage any of the surfaces. Right, so I'm happy with that clean so far. As you can see by the colour of the water, that's just a quick 5-10 minute clean over. So I'll go and get the compressor running now, blow off this to outside, and then start stripping the bowls and everything off. Right, welcome back. I've got him all dried off, blew most of the crap off. Like I say, he does seem to be fairly free. Butterflies are snapping back. So I'll carry on stripping down now. I'm going to do one at a time
I think that's a good idea, because if I get stuck or lost whilst I'm stripping one down, I've always got the second one then to look back at for reference. A couple of ways you can do it. You can either just strip them both down at the same time and take photos as you go, or just concentrate on one carb at a time, leaving the other one. So again, you've got a point of reference then. That's the way I'm going to do it. As I say, I'm no mechanic, I'm no carb expert. I'm not going to try and profess to be anything. I'm just basically going to strip them down and have a look, give them a clean and go from there. So I'll carry on. If I come across anything interesting or I think of anything funny to say, I'll talk as I go. Okay? So basically I'm going to start with the top bowls first. Caps, whatever you want to call them. Again, I'm no professional, because if I take these off, apart from the cable housing body, I can basically stand the carbs. So I could stand them up like that now, I suppose. I'll just slacken off all the screws to start with, to see if there's anything nasty. And again, try and get a screwdriver that is a really good fit, because the minute you slip with these, it's going to be a nightmare if they start around. Or so that's that three. Again, these are the bottom bowls of the carb. This is where the float is, and this is where I really do think that using a little bit of the old good WD to wash it down with as well really helps, because it starts to penetrate and work at these screws and fixings before you even got to them. It still doesn't say that they're all going to come undone, but surely it's got to help in the long run. So that's the bottom loosened off. I'm going to have a look at these Allen head ones. On top again, make sure your Allen key is seated right down in that bolt. I'll show you up close. If it's out a little bit and you're leaning on it at an angle, you're just going to strip that head. So make sure first of all that the actual head itself is clean, and then make sure that the Allen key, these are called Allen keys, sit all the way down in that head before you try to crank on it. That was nice and loose. And that one. So no major hurdles so far. All these fixings have been relatively nice to come apart. So thank you to Mr. WD, I think. But this one isn't seating all the way in, so just wiggle the key until it gets right down in, and then give him a try. There. Right, so I think I'm going to have a look at the float bowls, because I don't really want to disassemble the cable housing and body unless I can just get that off the one screw seated down in, and that'll allow me then to put this down flat onto the worktop. So let's have a look, see if this will undo to start with. Yeah, so we'll just remove the cable stay. Don't know what the technical term is. You can have a look if you want to educate me. Look it up. Drop it down in the comments below. Tell me how I'm doing it all wrong. So again, as I'm taking everything out, I'm putting it off to the side, kind of like in an order, in a sequence of how it comes off. That's all I wanted to take that off for, was allows me now to put carbs upside down so I can work on the floats. But I'm going to take the diaphragms out just to see if we got any tears or not, which again I hope not, because from what I can gather from Tinterweb, the diaphragms for these can be quite expensive. I was on a forum the other day just chops in about different pricings of diaphragms to people, and basically what the one chap was saying was Harley Davidson, their diaphragms, they're about anywhere from £20 to £25 roughly, compared to the Japanese bikes where you're looking anywhere from sort of 60, 80, £100. I'm not saying Harleys are better, I'm just saying they're cheaper sometimes. So I'm just going to tap. You've got to be careful because there's going to be a spring underneath it. This is one of the pop up. Okay, so here's the spring. It's quite a weak spring as well. Now this spring isn't directional from what I've read. It can go in either way. So the inside doesn't look too dirty. So again, I'm going to rebuild everything on the bench as I take it off. So the spring went on there. Leave with the 2 bolts. And this is the diaphragm, which I was under the impression there'd be a rubber diaphragm, but obviously not. Wow, that needle is stinking. Can you see that? Can you focus? Focus. That needle is stinking. And again, there's only one way this will go in because we've got a slot. So that will only go back in that way. So I take it that comes out. Yep, it's a little O-ring on there top, and then right down inside there's a slot head screw. So let's see if screwdriver, if we can undo that. These parts I will put in my ultrasound. So, but I'll just put them in individually. I won't strip the two. There's the needle. Like I say, it's quite dirty. So I'll give that, and I'll polish that back up with some metal polish as well. I'm not gonna strip both carbs out. So that went on there. That, again, I'm putting this all in sequence just for myself, so they all go together. I'm not gonna put both sets of needles and everything into the ultrasound at the same time because I want to keep each carb separate. Obviously it's an old bike, so the carb now is running to the parts in that carb itself, if that makes sense. This particular needle is running to this carb, not this one. So if I swap everything back and forth, it may just cock things up a little bit. So I'll carry on stripping this side. So I'm going to drop down now and take the bowl off. I could put the top back on just to help myself. Now again, if I look on top, I've got a Japan, and I'm looking at this now as I'm sat on the bike with the little ports facing the engine, the big ports facing the airbox, and the side that I hadn't taken off, the name with the Japan symbol faces the front of the bike. So I just dropped this one on the other way round. So that's the kind of thing, just take note when you take something off how it goes back on. Again, that was the beauty of leaving this side until I've stripped this side down, so I could look then and see, well, that's on the wrong way. I only just want to put this back on loosely just so that I can stand the carb on its head. So I just put the one fixing bolt back in, and only loosely. Right. Now now I can work with them set. So this is the side I'm stripping, so we'll carry on taking this bottom bowl off. Again, if any of you out there are experienced mechanics or just home mechanics like me, and you've got any comments or ideas or suggestions, then please do comment below. I'm like you, I'm just willing to learn. So I'm hoping. Right, the rubber doesn't look very good. We've got quite a bit of gunk. I don't know if you can see that down in the bottom. That's quite nasty. That's old fuel has been sat in there. So these are definitely in need of some TLC. So I'm hoping I can get away without having to replace all these rubbers at the moment, because I don't know if I can afford a rebuild kit at the moment. So, but in me looking at these, it may be a good long-term investment, but that is just nasty. Look at that. To think all that's trying to be sucked up into the fuel system on the bike. So I'll scrape out the gunk, put them in the ultrasound and have a clean. But this is basically what I wanted to check, was that if we're on the bike, oh wait, airbox, this is the one that was leaking, so it's the other side to what I'm stripping. But again, we need to inspect the floats to see if there's any holes. Take the needles out. Right, so you can see the shoulder if you look there. Focus. There. There's a shoulder there of the pin, so I need to drive that pin from this side out to take off the float, and then the float needle underneath. So I'll have to go and grab a little pin to test that. And then we can, they seem to be fairly free, but that needle may be sticking itself. I'm just blowing through where the fuel goes in and lifting the float, and you can hear where it comes through to the carb. So obviously that needle is working on this side because it's allowing the air that I'm blowing through, which would be fuel, to come through to the carb. When I drop the float, it stops. So you can hear. So that side seems to be okay, but we'll drive this pin out, take the float out, and we'll have a look. I'll just go and get a nice little pin set, and we'll have a look. Hey, welcome back people. So while I was away, I rebuilt the first carb that you saw me stripping, and I carried on and I stripped the second carb. Now the bowl wasn't too bad in this one. I've cleaned it all up. Just going to get the stuff out to the ultrasound now, dry it off, and then we'll just rebuild the second carb. So again, these parts are not perfect coming out by any means, but they're good enough for what we want to do. So this isn't a full restoration or anything by any means. This is just down and dirty, clean. See if we could diagnose any major problems. I've looked at the float in the second bowl and that looks all okay. There was no crack or holes in there, which I thought there might have been for it to be sticking. It just may be a case that it was dirty and it was that's what causing the problem. So we'll just put these jets back in now once I can remember the order. I'll check what the book says as well about the idle screws, about backing them off, and at the moment I'm just going to have them both sticking through. So if my hands are in the way, as I say, I'm not going to explain what I'm doing because I'm not a professional at this. I'm just an amateur, so it's up to you if you want to go down that route of copying me or not. The pin was really easy to get in there. Again, I'm going to do a quick blow test now to see if it shuts off. So that float is working. Again, I'm now going to replace the gasket. I'm hoping that's going to be good enough for what we need at the moment, because we need to look after the pennies. And this again is just to get the bike up and running half decent. Once we start getting into the build itself, then these will probably come back off and have an overhaul kit, just to put some fresh seals and everything back in there, providing these ones are holding. Back upstairs. I'm not worried about rusty looking screws or anything at the moment. It's purely a case of get her running right. So I checked all the needle. I give the needle a nice clean up on the other one because they were both pretty black. Make sure this drops in as it should without hitting, which it is at the moment. Yeah. Sporing. And again, because I've only taken one off at a time, I can check now with the casing. But this one is facing the airbox, the name Japan is facing the engine, so that I can seat this one back on the same way. It's probably recommended torque specs for these as well, but hand tight is good enough for me. You can do whatever you choose and whatever you feel comfortable with, really. If you want to stick to all the specs in the book, then please be my guest. It'd probably be, the foot pounds on these would probably be so low that I'm over tweaking them just by doing them hand tight. So that's all that's left to fit then is the actual cable housing that we took off. Sits in here. There's a little lug down in there that fits the corresponding slot. So that kind of lines it all up for me. So it's a little bit tricky to get it all in the same place. And think of the camera, because obviously I'm using my phone, I'm not using a dedicated camera to film any of these episodes. It's just on my phone, and then I use a little movie editing app afterwards, because I don't have the funds to invest in a dedicated filming camera like a GoPro or something like that. It's all budget related at the moment, so that's all back in. Everything seems to be working again as it was. So I'll tighten up screwdriver the bleed screws on the bottom of the bowls. Like that. Right, so that's the carbs. Little clean, nothing major. All working. The needles seem to be clear, free. So I'll clean up the rubber boots now. I know this one's got a slight crack. That's not going to help matters, but I'm going to pop these back on so we can fit it back into the bike, and then we're going to have a look at how we're going to transfer from the inlet side to the airbox, because like I said, the baffles are sillily expensive. So I'll give these a clean up, fit them back on, and I'll meet you back over at the bike. Right, managed to get her back up firing and running, people. She sounded a hell of a lot better. The carb clean was needed, but also because I couldn't get any bellows at the moment, I made my own. They're not perfect, they're not sealed up, but she's running 1,000 times better. I can get it to idle, sit there happy. She's revving right up. And yes, before I have the doubters, they're not perfect, they're not the right thing, and yes, for all you out there, they are made out of pot noodle pots. So I've managed to make a set of bellows that'll do for now, just to connect the carb to the airbox. I've got to get some Jubilee clips, circlips for the engine side, but apart from that, like you just heard, she's running, and she's running pretty sweet really. For something that hasn't been run for 20 years old, she's pretty damn good. So, as you just heard, she's running, carbs are back in. I had to put on the pilot screw, I had to take her 2 turns back out, because the British setting said
1¼ turn to 1.5, but I was having no joy at all. So what I done, I went online, had a Google, had to look at the manual, and the American version, it referenced 2 full turns back on the pilot screw. So I done that, and she's fired. So I'll put her on the tripod, and we'll have a little wrap up and decide what we're going to do next with her now she's up and running. Stay tuned. There you are, people. Just do a quick wrap up now. This is episode 6 already. Really happy to where we got today. Like I said, I was iffy about the carbs. Never done carbs that much before. So give them a good clean, took the jets out, cleaned everything. Got away without needing new O-rings and seals for now. And those tubes I made out of part noodle parts, done the job. Who would have thought? Obviously I'm not going to ride it like that. I will source either decent bellows, which, like rocking horse crap, you just can't get them, or I may end up putting pod filters on there, but then I'm going to have to extend the tubes to make an actual velocity tube before the pods. That's what I've looked at on the internet anyway. So we're at the stage now where I need to decide what I'm doing with the bike. Am I just going to stick it up for sale as is, as a runner? Am I going to strip it down? Bobber, chop, cafe racer? What do you think? Let me know, comments down below. The only other issue I got is I've got no feeling at all on the clutch at the moment. I've ordered the clutch cable, I'm waiting for that to come back, but I've got no pull on the arm itself. So what I may do is I may dump the oil out, take the casing off, take the basket out, clean all the plates and see if it needs freeing up. But in the meantime I could just start stripping down the various parts of the bike. I would like to actually get, now I've come this far with the engine and carbs and I've got the bike running kind of sweet, I think I'd like to get it to the point where I can see it going in and out gears. I know I can get gears on the shifter side, I can kick in and out gears when it's running, and the front sprocket turns great, no problem. So I know the gearbox is good. It's just I want to make sure with our clutch, I can't see it being totally wasted because the rest of the bike seems to be in good repair at the moment. So we'll call it a day for episode 6. It's been a bit of a long one, I do apologise, but a lot of work to do on the carbs. Again, safety first. When you're using any carb cleaner, any compressed air, anything like that, safety glasses. I almost had some carb cleaner in the eye. If it wasn't for the safety glasses, I could have been down Neville emergency by now. But anyway, call that a day, episode 6. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in episode 7 when I've got a final decision of what I'm actually going to do. Run the bike, strip the bike, sell the bike. So keep watching. Thanks for all the views, comments, shares, likes, subscribe. See you in the next one.